targets up here. We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object. It almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top of us. I hate to say this looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top.
That was dramatic. Good evening, folks, and welcome to Alien Addict on this fine and long cylindrical. No, I'm not even going to try. Stu, how do I say it? How do I say it?
Evening. Cylindrical?
Cylindrical, yeah. There we go. Cylindrical evening. But cylindrical it is. However, it's not.
Not a rocket.
It's not a rocket.
It's not a rocket.
It's not a
according
rocket.
to Corbell.
Not according to Jezza. It's not a rocket. Now, he did ask everybody to go to work, and people have gone to work on Twitter. We hopefully have Scott Browne, the ufologist, a damn good ufologist, joining us at some point. He usually tends to sneak in a little bit, like through the halfway mark.
Door.
I wasn't going to say the back door. Too early for that, Stu.
I'm just sticking up for Lee since he's not in tonight.
But yeah, Lee. I think Lee probably is doing something in the back door. That's why he's not in. But yeah, I think Lee's going to be covering this on Sunday, people. So make sure you check out the Sunday show at 9 p.m. GMT, 4 p.m. Eastern, because he's going to be doing a follow-up to whatever we talk about tonight, which it is going to be the
Not a rocket.
Not a rocket. Thanks, Jez. What side of the fence do you fall upon, Stu? Because when I sent you this, I got the impression that you thought rocket.
Yeah, when you sent me it, I first saw it, I had actually
just before you spurt. I just want to give the audience a bit of a background that may not have already seen you on the show. Stu, you've been on quite a few times, but you're my guy when it comes to photography, when it comes to anything video, because that's the industry that you're in. UFOs are just kind of like your hobby. But slowly, maybe you are doing a Greer documentary at some point.
Well, I've been doing it all week this week.
Yes, and getting
That's
some
why
very
I haven't been on Twitter. So
getting some very interesting interviews.
Yeah,
to say the least. Touche. But yeah, I just want to give people a little bit of a background there. So you know your shit when it comes to photography and when it comes to video editing and all that. I've been
shooting video and photos for 30 years now. So yeah, I know a thing or two. It's my wheelhouse, so I'm quite happy to talk about it. I don't know an awful lot about Reaper drone footage, mind you. I'm kind of a layman in that sense, but I know what I see. So
what do you see when you see these images?
It's hard to tell because one, it is only a series of images, so there's no sense of scale to how big the object is. I mean, it kind of looks like it's just like dirt, grassland, that kind of Iraqi/Afghanistan terrain over there. Very dry sort of background to it, but it's hard to tell. I mean, I don't know whether it was filmed at night, whether it was filmed during the day. If you actually call up the image again, you can see from the telemetry around the edges of, it's a Reaper drone, I think he said. It says -5C in the top left corner. Now that's going to be the object's temperature, because the background ambient is way hotter than that. So whatever that thing is, it's running cold. Now, we do have rockets that are configured to keep the outside skin, and
you
the
see
part of it cold.
Mick West, Mick West pointed out that planes, when they're being filmed through this sort of footage, they can still show as having no heat, but then when you do see the engines from the back, you can see that they are bright white. And the thing is with these images and the angle, you can't see the back of it. You can't see where the exhaust would be if that is a cruise missile. And
I mean, it's not. I kind of went down a rabbit hole of like rockets and missiles and there's Scott. Hi, Scott.
He's here.
How's it going, guys?
The finest ufology has to offer. He's the man. How you been, Scott?
I'm hanging in there. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you loud and clear, and them sunglasses are beautiful.
Yeah, I never leave home without them.
I've just asked Stu here what he makes of the images, because Stu's worked with he works with photography and he works with film, hence and he's into UFOs, hence why he's on Alien Addict.
Right.
And he was talking about the fact that this thing, you can't see any white parts on the object to show heat. But I would just say, well, could that be the angle? But Stu, just finish before we get on to Scott what you were saying there.
Yeah, I kind of went down a rabbit hole of all the sort of different missiles that the US military that make, and they all tend to, quite frankly, not look like that. They're more, pointed and bigger back end. They've got fins on them. I mean, it could well be that there's just not enough resolution in the FLIR image that we're just not seeing these things. It's just not processing them and like you see them. It's just picking up the body of the craft. It's hard to say, but I would, if it's running cold like that, I don't know what it is, but it's leaning away from being a missile for me. And the fact that Corbell says that it's not a rocket or a missile, kind of, where's he getting that info from as well? So I don't know. Over to Scott.
Yeah, I think that he's basing it on what you're saying, the heat signature. I think that's his own thing that he's coming up with based on that heat signature, and I some people don't like it, but I mean, for me, if you've seen any of Mick West's comments about it, and about how FLIR works, where at different levels things will go white or they'll go black. And
yeah, I saw the video he put out with the
it's very good, and he's a smart guy. People don't like him, but he's a smart motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know why they don't like him. I think he's needed. West knows best for me.
I do too. I agree. I mean, we have to have it. We've got to have some kind of safeguards against the bullshit.
I tweeted out and go on, Stu.
I was going to say he's the right amount of skeptical, and he provides checks and balances against the nonsense. A lot of people don't like him. I actually quite find him all right to watch. Maybe a little bit arrogant sometimes, but that's just the nature of the man.
I'll have to agree, Stu. I'll have to agree.
I put a tweet out and said that it was actually aimed for Jeremy, and just said that he should have Mick West on weaponized, because that would be to actually work with the debunker. I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Yeah, you know, have you ever seen the confrontation that Corbell had with Stanton Friedman?
Yes, I have.
So that is absolutely appalling that he did that to him. And being the man that Stanton was, he was highly educated. You know, he knew his shit. He did deep investigations. And I mean, I just found that unbelievable that he did that to him. And he was so arrogant, you know, and it just totally turned me off to him, you know. But, you know, based on, so I look at it as a whole, okay? So we can take all of the visual information that Jeremy Corbell has brought forward in the last couple of years and put it all together. And then you can look at the still shots that I used for the photo that I posted of the cruise missile and the Tomahawk. So we can capture images of those missiles flying at that speed, that clear. But all in totality, all of the stuff that he's brought forward is just absolute trash. It's trash. I mean, we need images that are clear. You know, it's always this stuff that's just so ambiguous, and you know, it's just I don't know. I feel like in my gut, I'm 100% assured that the government has amazing photos of whatever's out there. Whatever is flying around out there, they've got amazing photographs of it. We have the cameras to do it. There's no reason why we shouldn't have them, but the public doesn't have them. So, and we're probably not going to get them. I mean, it would be great, you know, but we've been waiting around so long for that, and it's just, I don't know.
What about the you see, the thing is, why do you think, because it almost sounds like something's going to come out, we're going to get the video of this, I think at some point we are going to get whether it's I think I heard it might be a 7-second video clip.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 7 seconds. I don't know.
The video? Don't know.
I don't know. He never really said if he had it or not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
But it's so from officials, it's been labeled UAP though. So it has been labeled UAP. Does that mean?
Yes,
could that mean that it's still a rocket? It's still a rocket, Jeremy.
Not a rocket.
But you know,
but it's still a rocket. But it's not something that we're allowed to know. It's not a rocket that we're allowed to know about. It's classified.
But I mean, who are these officials? Where is any statement that they released? Right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, he's saying, you know, it's not a rocket, and it's a UAP, but maybe that could be misinformation from the US government throwing folk off the scent after what it actually is.
Exactly.
I mean, it has some, you know, I don't know. I mean, Baghdad, yeah, okay. Somebody, you know, from one of the ships that's in the Gulf accidentally released the Tomahawk cruise missile, you know,
right?
And that's what's been flying by.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff flying around out there, and you know, it's that kind of area. That stuff is going on over there. I mean, I don't know. I don't buy it at all. It just doesn't seem. There needs to be a lot more information for us to make a determination. Oh, that's UAP, and they claim that the officials. Well, I want to see these officials, or at least their statement, who they are. You know, that are saying this. It's just. There's just nothing backing it up.
Yeah, you don't just want all government insiders. You want to kind of, he doesn't have to give names, but we want to know what part of the Pentagon or, military-industrial complex or wherever they're from.
Mm-hmm.
There are reports, though, for a very long time of cigar-shaped UFOs. It's
Yes.
one of the most popular reported UFOs.
Yes.
So let's take Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp out of the situation. Let's take the footage out of Baghdad.
Okay.
What if that was something that was recorded, that was a test footage over America or over the UK, somewhere else, not over a war zone. Let's actually take America out of the equation for missile testing. But
good.
You
good,
put some
very plausible. It's very plausible. You know, I mean, who knows?
I think the problem is it is a war zone where this was shot.
Mm-hmm.
When was it shot? Last year?
Yes, 2000. Was it? I think it was Feb 2022. I think. I'm not 100%. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure either.
Do we know if it was visible to the naked eye? Has anyone seen it from the ground? Excuse me, from the ground, or is it just from the Reaper drone's perspective?
As far as I know, all we know is what Corbell told us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's not too much that he released with it as, you know, some kind of.
And we don't know what size it is, do we?
No.
We know it was roughly about 230, 240 feet from the ground up. Obviously traveling subsonic. Now, am I right in saying Tomahawk cruise missiles or cruise missiles in general are solid rocket boosters? They're not liquid rocket. They don't need to be fueled. They're SRBs, aren't they? Do you know, Scott?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I'm not that sure.
I'm sorry, somebody in the chat will know that.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have found that out before.
I'm just going to look it up, actually, while we're talking.
While you're looking that up, so Scott, I've been looking at trying to find evidence of other pilots reporting missiles in places where there may not be a missile. I found this report today. I don't know if you've seen this before, but I'm going to bring it up now.
Okay, so there are new reports about a UFO sighting over the weekend. An American Airlines pilot reported the sighting over an area of New Mexico on Sunday. Here is what he reported seeing at the time.
Have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object. It almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top of us.
Ooh. Air traffic controllers reportedly didn't see anything on their radar, and the director of the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico confirmed there were no missile tests on that day.
Yes.
So have you seen that one before?
Yes. And apparently there was a photo captured of it, of somebody that took it out the window, I guess, just as it was passing, if I'm not mistaken. And they never proved whether it was a missile or what it was. But yes, it was long, cylindrical, you know, metallic looking. You know, it had all the aspects of a missile or, I don't know, a UAP.
Right, I've got the spec on the Tomahawk. It's actually dual powered. It has a Williams International F107 turbofan engine, as well as a TH dimmer fuel solid fuel rocket booster. So it's a combination of both.
Right.
And its wingspan is 8 foot 9 inches, just for a sort of comparison. And it goes
you don't see any of the little tiny wings on the pictures, but I don't know if you would from.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think there's enough resolution with how FLIR cameras work that would it show up the fins.
I'll agree with that. It may be any kind of like a long projection off of it, may be blurred by the speed, you know. But the thing that they're calling the plume that's behind it, some people are saying it's a plume. I agree with John Greenwald. He did a small like animation of it with all the frames together, showing that it's artifacts from the camera that is you can match them right up to the shape of it. And I believe it's artifacts from the camera. There's no plume behind it. But
that's what Corbell said that as well. He thought it was some sort of ghosting effect. So he did actually say that.
And I do agree with that. I do agree.
I think that's the most likely thing that it is. The only other idea I had, and this is a thing I said to the other night, Ollie, and this is totally out of the box, left of field, and this is really, if it is a UAP, UFO, is, you know, could it be a gravitational wake that you're seeing? And that is just a theory. I don't actually believe it. I just think, well, there's another theory, another idea for it, you know, but it's more realistically artifacts from the FLIR camera than anything else.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, on the other hand, we could both be wrong, and it's some kind of weird propulsion thing. I mean, who knows? You know, it's all just speculation. But I mean, you know, I don't know. Just for it to be put out, there's almost no information behind it. There's no video. You know, there's no. It's just, I don't know. I can't take that type of stuff. And you've seen the one, Ollie, the other day that I debunked that was a phone app. I think I sent it to you. The guy created it with a phone app.
Yeah.
And he was passing it around. And I already had copies of that phone app's pages showing all the different ones you could use to fake it. And there it was, smack in the middle of the page.
The really disappointing thing for me, if these guys are just trying to pull the wool over people's eyes, is the length of time that it's been going on for. I'm not talking about Corbell, because Corbell's very new to the field when it comes to making content, but Knapp has been at it for years.
Oh yeah, he's been around for decades.
So I mean, as somebody who sits on the fence.
It's a researcher who was a good friend of mine who passed away recently. He ran a huge New Jersey convention every year for 20-something years. His name was David Stanton. And he was a good friend of mine, and he was, you know, known online as a researcher, but he was gruff. He would really, you know, give people shit in a ribbing. But he said to me one day, we were having a conversation on the phone, and he said, sometimes these people, when they get in this field, and there's like, you know, they get in deep, and they, you know, buy a lot of the stories that come up, and the Billy Myers and the Bob Lazars and the, you know, they buy into all that stuff, that they begin to, you know, report on different things, but then they feel a need. He called it a need to produce. And so to keep the public's interest in them, they have a need to produce. So they have to come up with this stuff. If you notice, he'll just keep putting this stuff out, these clips and these photos. And, you know, I mean, how many documentaries has he done now on UFOs? Is it 2?
On actual UFOs.
Walker, Lazar.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah,
so
patient.
Oh, he did patient. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Zero,
patient zero. Yeah, so that's 3 of those.
So he's done 3 effectively.
Yeah, and you know, Knapp has been at it all these years. He's always looking for news stories, and you know, then of course they rehash the Bob Lazar stuff, and it's a need to produce, and they have to keep coming up with things to keep this community's interest in them, you know. And I mean, I'm sure some of it's monetary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always the same though. Like, it's a drip feed of information, and the quality is never there because, as you said earlier, like, we've got good cameras now. The technology's there, and we always get this potato quality crap. You know, that's just a nonsense because I've seen some of the, more so on the Navy side of things, like the quality of video and recording feedback that you get off of the cameras that are on a submarine, and it's 4K. I mean, it's tremendous. It's really detailed stuff. You know, so sharp as a tack. So if you can put that on a submarine, what the hell, you know, the optics, I mean, you're talking millions and millions and millions of pounds worth of optics, or dollars worth of optics, that are on these F-22 Raptors, and there's no way they're not producing tack sharp images. They're just going to be.
The problem is, when you look at these images, though, we are going with rocket straight away, again, because of where it is. If that wasn't in Baghdad, we wouldn't be saying that that's a rocket. We may be saying that's a rocket, but if that was over the fucking Yorkshire Dales, we wouldn't be saying that's a rocket. We'd be saying, what the hell is that? You know?
Yes, I agree.
So there is a bias there that we are saying that is a rocket just because that is over Baghdad.
Right.
I almost should think we owe it to the subject to see what happens with this when we get the footage, because if this, he says it goes from left to right. Am I right by that? He said it goes left to right.
Left to right, yeah.
He says that in the clip. It goes left to right. I want to know what happens in that video, because maybe that video does show something that kind of makes us think that it
not a rocket.
Stop it, Jerry.
But here's another thing. I mean, the Reaper is like old technology now in terms of it's a 20-year-old platform, but it has the capability to lock onto a target pretty easily. I mean, it can lock onto multiple targets at any one time. So why isn't there footage of, like, there must be footage of it tracking that object, because there's nothing really in the background. It's not as if it was targeting insurgent fighters and you can see them below the object. There's nothing there. So it makes me think it's captured this, and you're seeing it as it flies by the position of the camera. And then, because if you look at all that telemetry information in the bottom right, I mean, there's a lot of information there, which makes me think it's tracking it.
Well,
like,
I mean,
the next set of footage might be reacquiring or whatever. I mean, there's just so many unknown variables. How far was the Reaper drawn away from it? What height, was it flying at? What speed was it flying at? What was the airspeed? What was the temperature of the ground? Was it night? Was it day? The other thing that he says is, he knows that it was under intelligently controlled flight. How? How does he know that? It's only going from left to right. It's in a straight trajectory. It doesn't take a right turn. 90 degrees. So there's no indication that it's under controlled flight. Another theory that I saw on Twitter briefly before I came on tonight, somebody had said, I bet you it's a missile that was left over from in Afghanistan from when the US troops pulled out. Somebody had maybe, left a cruise missile lying around. They've squirreled it over to Iraq and fired the thing just to see how it would work.
just for shits and giggles.
Just for shits and giggles. It makes you wonder. I mean, the thing is, you know, the U.S. Army or the military in general are not the best bookkeepers in the world. You know, what's to say that they didn't leave half a dozen Tomahawk cruise missiles lying around? Somebody's got a hold of one, you know, and decided to fire it off.
Yeah.
But do you not think? I mean, I'm just like, when somebody this big, when it comes to George Knapp, and let's face it, Corbell, love him or hate him, he's definitely big in the field now. He's a big guy he's a big guy in the field. There's a lot to lose from just showing as a missile. If this gets proven to be a missile, without a shadow of a doubt, you know, they have
covered themselves with that, because they did say, "Hey guys, we're putting it out to you. You
yes,
tell
they
us
did.
what it is. You do the research. We don't know what it is." So we're saying this is what we think it might be. You know, they're dropping little hints there and there, but they're also covering their ass, and you know, saying, "Well, it could be a missile, it might not be a missile, or whatever." I mean, it looks like a bloody Tomahawk cruise missile, especially that middle image.
Yeah, I agree. It looks like a missile, because missiles are long, thin, and you know, it looks just like a missile. Let's face it, it looks like a missile, rocket, or whatever.
Yeah.
But
and
again,
you wouldn't necessarily see like a big plume of exhaust gases coming out, because as far as I've just read there, the SRB part of it kicks off in the beginning, and then it switches over to a turbofan engine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not playing devil's advocate because I feel like I've got to do that here. I'm doing that because, for me, it's the area, and I'm thinking, if this was anywhere else, and I know I sound like a broken record, we would be saying, "What the fuck is that?" But because of the area, and it's just like, he must have thought. He must have thought before he put that out. Fuck me, people are just going to say rocket, because he said, I'm not going to put it up again, but he said, not a rocket. You know, so he must have known that UFO Twitter would have gone ballistic. You know, he knew Mick West would have done something. Maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe that's the thing. You know, I don't care. Let's just put it out there. Mick West, they're all going to start talking about it. It's going to bring traction to my channel. I would like to think that he's more professional than that, and he would like want to put it.
Do you not think his reputation was ever so slightly tainted and damaged from the green night vision footage that turned out to be, you know, bokeh?
It was bokeh, but apparently it was bokeh, but at the same time,
it was for sure.
But at the same time, they hadn't, whatever they was looking at, they had no idea what it was. But
they were flat. They were flashing bloody lights.
There was. Yes, I agree. I agree with that.
You know, it has that had to have been just bog standard aircraft, because it was flashing FAA blooming lights. And I'm sorry, if ET's coming home to say hi, it's not going to flash FAA lights. You know, it's just not.
Right. But how many times do you reckon that this happens on reports where something comes into, and it could, it's not alien, something comes into a certain flight zone, and they're like, "What the fuck's that? That should not be here." And then they try to get a report, find out what it is. They never find out what it is, so they put it down as unidentified flying object. Lo and behold, somebody gets hold of the report that's quite big in the industry of UFOs and goes, "We can roll with that motherfucker." It probably happens a lot within the military and within the Navy, but we'd like to think it doesn't because they should know the shit and they're protecting our countries. But I bet it happens a lot.
Yeah,
I would think so.
don't disagree.
So that would make anybody that is in the know that has people within the military, the Navy, the Air Force, whatever, that has contacts that can get, and that's what Jeremy can get. So maybe some of the stuff that he's gaining is just reports of it was unidentified. We didn't know what it was. And this could be what this is. It's a.
You know, I mean, let's compare it to the what is it, the Aqua Dia footage where it flies over the base, and you know what I'm talking about, right?
You talk about that little thing that goes in and out of the water, aren't you?
Right. It bounces in and out of the water. So that footage is absolutely fascinating.
It is.
But
it's probably the best UFO footage out there, I would say.
It's absolutely incredible, and the analysis.
Can you get that up, Ollie, to let folks see it that haven't maybe seen it?
If I can spell Aquadia.
Yeah, I forgot how
own.
to spell it too. It you know, I mean, it's the analysis that was done on it by what is it, the scientific coalition there with Rich Hoffman and a bunch of other people, a bunch of other technical, and there's a couple scientists, I believe. Well, anyways, they did a real technical analysis of it and broke the whole thing down frame by frame, and it's fascinating. I mean, you can't really say what it is. You can't. It's just not. It's not identifiable at all, and especially when it goes in and out of the water, which is really bizarre.
Yeah.
But if you compare that to what we're being given by Corbell, it's not even comparable at all. You know.
No, that footage is just phenomenal. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I am trying to find it, and all I keep getting is the Jeremy Corbell one of the little dot that goes underneath the wake of the water. How do you spell Aquadia?
I think it's
AQUADEA.
AQUADEA. Oh my god, I've put Aquadia UFO and it's brought up Corbell's UFO again. Well done, Jeremy. You are well and truly in the algorithm.
Yeah,
yes, he is.
Jesus,
that's weird.
I cannot find that anywhere on YouTube, and that says something. When you can't find a UFO on YouTube, it's usually a reason why, people.
Yeah, you know, well, I find that YouTube's search engine is a piece of shit. You can search for stuff that you know you've seen with the title or the name, and it won't find it.
Yeah, if you find it, Scott, put it into the private chat.
No, I can't. Well, I'm on my phone, so I can't really.
Not Scott. Sorry, Stu.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Both your names start with S. Dyslexic.
Yeah, so, you're right. It's on YouTube. It's just
you cannot find it.
Stuff that comes up.
I have found it before. But yeah, Scott. So going back, I'm going to bring this report back up from this this pilot.
Have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object. It almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top of us.
Do you think you guys would be testing cruise missiles near commercial airlines?
No.
Yeah, see, well, that was part of the controversy over the whole case, was that they were saying that it could have been fired accidentally from, I think there is a base near there or something. I can't remember exactly, but they were saying, oh, well, this could have been fired accidentally, you know, and people brought that up, well, what are they testing things around our, public
But
airways,
I mean, to accidentally fire a cruise missile that shot literally straight over the pilot's head. That's a big accident.
Yeah.
So that's a very big motherfucking accident.
Yeah.
That's somebody going to get their job put up on the notice board very quickly for that.
I mean, even if it's not armed, if it hits an aircraft, that aircraft's in trouble.
Even if if it's a dummy warhead and that thing, just the kinetic energy behind the weight of it would
that hits,
take down any airliner, no problem.
So I don't buy for that case that.
Ollie, somebody in the chat put Dark Sky Files has it.
Yeah, Dark Sky Files is absolutely amazing. People should go subscribe. He puts loads of great UFO videos out that just disappear. I think he's had about 3 channels deleted though off YouTube so far.
God.
But he puts a lot of videos out, so it's going to be hard for me to find. I'll message him on Twitter. But yeah, UFOs, the most common shape, if you actually look at it, it's the cigar shape. That is the most common shape going. And I'm not sticking up for Jeremy and George Knapp by any means. But again, everybody's going off the bat that this thing is over Baghdad, which is a hostile area.
Now, just to play a little bit of a devil's advocate here, I've looked at many videos and photos of long cylindrical UFOs, and a lot of them are solar balloons. And they're long. I made one of my graphics showing a bunch of common solar balloons. They come in all sizes. People launch them for fun. They launch them from universities for, tests and studies, and so many people have filmed them. And from a distance, you can't see the seams or any of the little, flapping edges where it's sealed together. You can't see any of that. So that's a thing for me usually when I see that, especially daytime shots, which there are many. There are many videos and many photos with daytime shots. It's a solar balloon.
Yeah, agree.
And it's not doing, see, here's the thing. If that image that Corbell has, let's just say, just for ha-has, that's a solar balloon. So if the aircraft is going past it that fast, it's going to make it look like it's moving.
Parallax.
And it's gonna zip right past it, and then you're gonna look at it and go, oh, it looks like that flew by them, when actually it was the opposite. Now, I'm not saying that, they're flying a solar balloon over Iraq or wherever it was, but I'm just saying, that's something that could, is plausible, but I wouldn't say it's probable.
Do you remember this one? Though, because we spoke about them being rockets and all that jazz, but way back when we didn't have rockets.
Right. Yeah, very good old historical document. It's always fascinated me as to what they were seeing.
Now, if they'd have just put a load of shit in the sky, over a little town, but the fact that there's fields on fire and what have you, in this report that goes with it.
What's that from? I have seen the image before, but I've not seen.
I mean, Scott will know more about that than me. I believe it was in the 15th century or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was like I'm not positive, like maybe France, Italy, or maybe
I think it was France. I think.
Yeah. So, and they were saying that they're almost describing it as that there was some kind of war going on, that all these objects were like shooting at each other, and so. And that's been described before in other historical documents, that it seemed like that there was some kind of conflict between the objects that they were seeing.
So we have reported on kind of like rocket-looking UFOs for a long time. I get where everybody's coming from, though. I have to say, with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, and the distrust, with, I think a lot of that has come because so many people don't trust the Bob Lazar story.
I blow hot and cold with that story every other week. Sometimes I think, oh, it's true, and sometimes I think he's full of shit.
But when it comes to this, whatever it is, missile over Baghdad, UFO over Baghdad, whatever, I think it's quite funny when everybody does say rocket, and I think Jeremy's probably going to come out and go, you've all been saying this, that, and the other. Then he's going to release something, and then he's going to make claims where the debunkers look stupid, when we're probably not going to look stupid. We're probably not going to look stupid.
Yeah, he commented on the post that I made.
What did he put?
What did he say?
I can't remember exactly. I just ignored it. I was like, whatever, man. Yeah, he commented there somewhere. It's right in the comments.
It's in your. Let's have a look at this.
It's right under that photo. Yeah, he commented something, and disputing that it's still talking about, I believe, the heat signature.
Yeah, but what I would say
it's too ambiguous, the camera. You know what I mean? It's too. I don't think ambiguous is the word I'm looking for, but it's too. Like Mick made the point. Yeah, it's too. You can't judge it by saying, "Oh, that it's cold," because you can find other footage with things that are, that they're hot in this FLIR footage, but they're not showing up as hot. And I believe there's two different modes they can flip to.
They can go black to white, white to black. So they can have it so that the object is projecting heat or projecting it being cold, depending on the ambient background. But right. From what I can see of the telemetry, it looks like it's set so that the ambient background is white, warm, and the object supposedly is cold.
Right.
But it's up for debate. It is up for debate.
Right, and that's what he's saying, that the ground is,
but I mean,
very
the fact
bright.
That he's saying it's under controlled, intelligent controlled flight, and it's not a rocket. How the fuck does he know?
No, there's no way he could know that. Yeah, exactly. Good
Even
point.
if he's seen the video and it's only like 14 seconds or whatever, how is he honestly going to know? The footage is shit. You can't make that judgment. Even a seasoned drone pilot would not be able to make that judgment. That's why drone pilots accidentally shoot either their fellow man blue on blue, or they blow up a press photographer thinking he's carrying an AK-47. They can't make out half the stuff.
Right. Right.
I don't know if his comment's still there. I'm just going down your thing. I mean, this for one that someone's put out. Yeah, I understand, but these objects are not without precedent in the history. So he's got this, but this one here, hasn't this been debunked? It's got like a cigar in snow.
It was, I believe, a measuring ruler that they laid in the snow to kind of give an idea of the size of it. Yeah, that's what it was. And if you zoom in real close at it, you can see it's not a cloud. It's not a cloud at all.
It looks like a clump of snow or mashed potato.
And mashed potatoes, yeah, it's another good one.
Yeah, you've got some good, a lot of people. You got a mixed crowd on this.
Yeah, it's back and forth.
And you've also got a tampon. What the hell?
The fuck?
Yeah, I mean, would you agree though that we can't really debunk it?
No, we can't. I mean, you know, I'm throwing my opinion out there based on all the imagery that I've looked at. I don't ever consider myself and say, you know, I'm an expert or whatever. I don't, you know, it's
but
I'm not. But
even the, I mean, what's his name there? If he was still alive to this day, God bless his soul. Travis Walton's, I forgot his name. The big debunker guy that everybody hated at the time.
Philip
Klass. Yeah. Even if he was alive to this day, like I just don't think you can debunk this just from those images. But at the same time, unless Jeremy and George are going to follow this up with something spectacular, it was pretty silly putting it out in the first place. So I think there's a big responsibility there. There has to be something to follow this up other than just these images and maybe a little clip of this. And if it's just a line going from A to B, it's not enough.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been.
You know, I don't know. I feel like I just feel like after all these years that it's just the ones that probably have the best photos and the best you know, imagery of anything that's going on out there is just, you know, not us. I mean, people do capture things and they're anomalous. I mean, I've captured some stuff myself I can't explain it myself, but you know, it's a different context. It's not like you said, okay, if those photos, if that image that they put out, those 7 images was over my town, then I'd say, wait a minute, something weird's going on, because there would never be like a missile here ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I live in a rural area. The only base that's close to me is probably 20 minutes away, but you know, they wouldn't be shooting missiles over residential areas. But the context of it, that it's in a war zone, you know, there's things flying around, there's a bunch of crap going on, maybe they're testing something. I mean, who knows, you know?
And that bit is what is so confusing for me, because I don't think Jeremy is a stupid man. I don't think he is. I think he's probably quite a smart man. I think George Knapp's pretty smart. So
yeah, I don't think they're stupid guys. I do think that they sometimes are gullible. So you wouldn't say that of somebody like with George Knapp's stature as a reporter, an investigative reporter. But I've seen some of the best researchers in the world take something and run with it, and it's absolute bullshit, and it turns out to be bullshit, and they promoted it for years. I mean, there's so many examples of it that you could fill a book, you know. So it's not that easy to
Ollie, I've just emailed you something.
Okay, I'll bring it up. Go on, sorry, Scott, what are you saying?
Australia, sorry, Scott, carry on, Scott. Sorry.
No. So, you know, so the fact is that still to this day, they think, you know, Bob Lazar is the shit. He's the UFO shit, you know. I mean, making a new documentary about him. The guy was promoting himself. He was a low-level employee. He was trying to make something of himself. He made up a bunch of stories. Everything's been debunked. No one's, you know, there's no way that the government would go and scrub the record to make sure that there was no record of him. That is stupid. That's out of the movies. That doesn't happen in real life, you know. And especially somebody with him, you know, being who he was and involved with. I mean, you saw the article, I think, Steve Cambion, he had it on the other night about Lazar's ex-wife and the stuff that she was involved with. I mean,
yeah,
I
also saw Lou reviews of the unidentified celebrity reviews. People might remember him, was also talking about that as well. About Lou,
was he?
Yeah, Lou. He's back. He's back now.
About
Bob Lazar's ex-wife.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, they would have done a full background check on Bob. They would have saw all of those things. Here's an example, okay? And I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm just saying right now I'm employed at a cannabis facility that grows cannabis, that turns it into other products like oil and, you know, concentrates and, you know, capsules.
Great healer.
To get in there, they had to do a full background check before I could get in there. It took 2 weeks to get my ID. They had to check all of your social media to see what kind of person you are. This is just to get into a cannabis facility.
Well, you fit right in, you know, with UFOs and nice. As soon as they saw that, you're in. Yeah, you're in, man.
Oh, they don't know anything about that. I mean, I'm sure they can't really look. They can look at some public stuff that's on YouTube or whatever, but they can't look at, you know, my group or anything like that because it's private. But, you know, but the thing is, you know, like I said, no comparison. It's a government facility that he's saying he belonged to. They would have saw that stuff. He would have never got in there. There's no way possible that, you know, being involved with people like that, they would have let him in there.
So I'm going to bring this MUFON case that Stu has just shared with me. What case file is this, Stu?
It's Australia, South Adelaide, I think, sort of 2 years ago.
Have you seen this one, Scott?
There's close-ups of it, like somebody's cropped into it. If you zoom.
This is the first time I've seen this.
Yeah, first time I've seen it as well.
I'm not sure.
It just kind of looks similar in size.
The only issue I have with these, and the Scott's going to be exactly the same, is we've just got a still fucking image.
I know.
That's all we've got to go off. So somebody's posted this into MUFON. MUFON's accepted it, but at the same time, all we've got there is, let me share the other screen. We've got that, which is just it's a still. And now, Scott, I know you're great on Photoshop. How easy would it be to put that into Photoshop? And
you could make that in minutes.
Oh yeah, easy. It's a cakewalk. I got an offer years ago, and I think I talked about this maybe on an older podcast with you, Ollie. I got an offer from a media company that wanted me to fake UFOs in photographs, in footage, so they could use it. And I, of course, obviously said no. You know, I'm like, because I could do that all day.
Do you still have their? Do you still have their? I'm not bad on Photoshop. Do you still have their contact details?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not that tough to pull it. Still images are much easier to pull off than video,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But you know, video footage today, especially with the software we have now, you can have an amateur kid go and make something, and people, holy shit, what the hell was that? And he made it in his bedroom, you know.
Happens all the time. So it does.
Yep.
It's quite funny. Like I was going through old footage the other day, and I came across a video I shot of, it's just a family video. We were releasing, I can't remember why, but we were releasing one of these paper Chinese lanterns down the beach. And once it gets about 100 feet away from us into the air, you could just easily crop into that a little bit and it would look like a UFO. There was no indication. You couldn't even see the flame, but it was just such an unusual shape. It just, you wouldn't know what it was. I thought, God, I could have stuck that up online and said, oh, look, a UFO. And you would be, and you can see it moving in erratic ways, the way the wind's catching it. And you could easily fake it out as a UFO. Easily.
Yeah, we launched a couple at a family gathering a few years ago, and I made sure, I knew they were going to do it, so I made sure to get it on video and still image, and I used that to make another one of my graphics showing, you know, that it looks like a UFO. People have mistaken it multiple times, you know.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think anybody that has an eye for film, who is creative, could fake it a UFO tomorrow and make it believable to the untrained eye. Easy, easy done.
Yes,
and even make it. So Scott, you could I could do it. I'm pretty sure Stu could do it.
Oh,
make a UFO video without even using CGI, using some old school techniques, with just using camera. You know,
in camera effects instead of, you know, CGI or something like that. Practical effects.
I mean, you could use Third Phase's favorite technique, Pepper's Ghost. You can, you know, put something on a wire. There's hundreds of ways of doing it. You could make it look really, really slick. Play with perspective and depth and things like that.
The reason why the reason why I wanted to bring that up is, so I'm pretty sure Jeremy and George get plenty of things sent in, and a lot of it doesn't make it through the gateways. But that did.
You know, I think for, let's say, some average guy sent that to them, he took it in his backyard. I think the thing is that when they get footage that's involved with the military, so the footage that he released of
which is his thing,
was not shot by, you know, a government ship camera. It was shot by somebody on the deck, supposedly with a camera that shot it. You know, it's not, but it's still from the military. And then he's got this was shot supposedly from something military, I would imagine.
I think he said it was a Reaper drone.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, okay. So, but they you know, they put more, I guess, faith in it that it's something that's anomalous. But I mean, I don't know why he would release it and say, oh, it's a UAP. There's not really enough to get that. I think it's just, you know, like Stu was saying earlier, it's just his opinion that this is what it is. You know, unless somebody's filling his head with trash, whoever gave him the images. I mean, you know, how does he know that? How does he know that this person's not bullshitting him? You know, the bokeh, all that stuff. Like, how does he know that those people are not bullshitting him? You know, I mean, I just
he doesn't, and and do you know what? Even if they were, because of who they are, if he is conniving, yeah, I'm not saying you are, Jeremy, but if he is, and he thinks, well, you know what, I can accept that because this has come from XYZ, so I'm not responsible. I don't know if I believe it, but we'll put it out and we'll see what the audience think. That old chestnut. We'll see.
Another thought is he paying people for this stuff? Like, if you can imagine, if he's got insiders in the Navy, or do you know what I mean? Like, is he paying sources to get this stuff out? I mean, he did say it was declassified. It wasn't classified footage on this one. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think with this one, there's something. I think there's a part 2 of this. I think there's something. What
I do find a little bit intriguing is the last image that he released of that sphere-shaped thing. I find that a little bit intriguing. I mean, yeah, it's a possibility. It's a balloon, but I have a hard time believing that. But that is an interesting image, you know. And I'm wondering I'm wondering if there's footage that came from, because supposedly there is, right?
But that's the most frustrating thing, you know, when. And
didn't he say that came from footage? I'm not sure.
I think he did.
If you're in his shoes and you get authorization to put some clips out but not the video, do you sit on it or do you put it out? Do you just put the clip out? Or, you know, do you just go, I'm not going to do anything?
Well,
I don't know. I mean, to me, it comes back to that.
I know what I would do. I would put it out. I'm being honest. I would.
Yeah, but we've got a different. Have we lost Scott, or is he just gone?
No, he's gone to.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
I gotta go try to plug in because my phone is gonna die, and I don't want to go out on you guys.
No, I mean, it's back to this drip feed. It's a bit like Dolan's really bad for it as well. You know, drip feeding information out about different things that he's found out. In fact, they're all really bad at it. And, you know, I think it comes down to the monetary factor of they can either talk about it in conferences, make a presentation of it, and get paid a whack of money. I don't think Corbell's done any specific conferences. I know he's done Q&As related to his documentaries, but I don't think he's done any actual conferences. You know, he's not like
I don't think so either.
He's avoided that. So. I mean, George has done conferences before now. He's done quite a lot, although I don't think he's done that many recently. But again, it's the whole, you know, drip feed is information. There's no dramatic release. I mean, I found, like, in terms of this week, the interview that Stephen Colbert did with Steven Spielberg more interesting about.
Oh, I saw that. That was
showing Ronnie cool. Reagan, E.T. and talking about Close Encounters and like showing Jimmy Carter that and. Like that to me was more interesting than what Corbell and Knapp put out this week.
Yeah,
I mean, I personally
yeah,
think
I'll agree with that too.
I think Steven Spielberg has been told things that he maybe shouldn't have been told, that he will never speak about publicly. I mean, I think Ronald Reagan has probably let him inside in through the doors of what's maybe been going on a little bit more than he probably should have. But
yeah, that's
I don't think it's anything that Spielberg will ever
Do you think
talk about.
Do you think like the president gets to know all this stuff?
If you see the likes of George W. Bush, who
if there's something going on, do you think the president knows about it, or do you think it's an Independence Day job where he's going to Area? I mean, I know they know Area 51 exists now, but
I think,
and that's not because of Bob Lazar, people. That's because of Independence Day.
Yeah, I think
joke.
It depends on the president. I mean, again, at the end of the day, the president of the United States is a temporary job, whether it's 4 years or 8 years. They can only do a maximum of 2 terms, and that's them. They're out. 8 years is not a long time in the grand scheme of things. So I think it comes down to if they can trust them, if they can read them into the conversation. If, like the likes of George W. Bush, obviously had a background in the CIA and stuff like that, so chances are he was probably made aware because of that. George H.W. Bush, I should say. But then W obviously would have been read into it as well, because he obviously was involved with things with his dad. So, he probably knew more than most. I don't think the likes of Clinton was read in on it. I don't know about Obama. I certainly don't think Biden's been clued in to any great extent. I don't think Trump was clued in either.
I don't think Biden's clued in on anything.
No. I think if he can point himself towards the doors of the helicopter on a good day, he's having a great day. But no, I mean, it's difficult to say. I think Reagan probably knew more than most, like Eisenhower, Nixon, maybe.
Do you feel like that? I think this one's for you, Scott. Do you feel like Reagan's speech, the famous speech that
the UN,
that is actually in Goofon's intro?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that famous speech was meant to happen, or do you think he just pulled that out of his ass?
I've always found it fascinating. I mean, when I first heard it, I thought it was fake. I thought somebody had, somehow impersonated him and put the voice over some other footage, but then realized, holy shit, he really did make that speech. It was very peculiar for him to say that. It was just, it's a weird moment. And I believe by him saying that he must have known something. He must have been clued in.
The guy who wrote his speech is Ken, and I'm going to murder this, but Katchikan was his chief speechwriter. And I have seen a podcast of an interview that he did back in the 80s, and it was after Reagan was out of power, and he said he went off topic, he went off script on that. That wasn't written in the speech.
Wow.
He came up with that on the fly on the day, from what I understand.
See, that's he makes it even more peculiar.
I mean, he could do that because didn't he have he had an acting career before he was.
Oh yeah, I mean.
Yeah, he did. He did.
He was easily. Was he governor or? Yeah,
he was governor.
Yeah. So I mean, he's totally the right person to ad lib something like that and get away with it. I mean, most presidents, on the whole, have their moments of going off topic from whatever's been written for them by their speechwriters and stuff like that. I mean, Trump
probably told Joey more than any other president has gone off topic.
But I mean, like Trump, for example, was off topic 90% of the time, and you could tell when he was having to read from the prompter because he just went monosyllabic. And most of the time, you know, all his speeches, entertaining as they were, you know, they were just full of bullshit and nonsense. But, you know, I'll give the guy his due. I mean, he could talk the arse off of a donkey the way he just went on, does go on and on and on. I mean, that takes a bit of skill to do that, to keep a room full of people engaged like that, even if it is nonsense that you're spouting out. But I mean, yeah, Reagan definitely, it seems, went off topic on the UN speech, but it was a weird one. It really was. I mean, I remember as a kid listening to that on the evening news, and I was like, that got my attention even as a kid back then, you know, him doing that. So
speaking of evening news, so me and Stu both, well, I'm UK, he's Scotland. It's the same thing, but because of Braveheart, people still believe that we are separate.
Thanks, Mel Gibson.
I love Mel Gibson.
Hey, shush, I was in that movie. Behave, right, Carl.
But
I was an extra, but anyway,
I actually believe that.
No, I did. I played an Englishman. Of all things. Seriously, I'll tell you, just digress for a second. There was the two young boys.
This is actually true because he's in this business, Scott.
Yeah,
but I didn't expect that.
I used to work as a photographer for a local theatre company, and they provided the two young lads, Andrew and Richard, I think the other boy's name was, and they're the two boys at the beginning of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. So we were up there basically being guardians for them and looking after them, and they did the scene where his beloved Murren gets her throat slit. Sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. And the only way I could stay on set that day, because I had like my camera with me, even though they confiscated my footage for like months and months and months, I got it back about 2 months after it got released in the cinema.
You must have been were you about 20, 18?
18. I was 18 or 19 at that point, yeah.
Wow.
And I literally had to dress up as one of the English soldiers, and I could still point myself out in the movie. I'm in it like for a fraction of a second in the background.
Nice.
But that was the only way you know it's me is because there's a funny bulge at the front of my chest, and it's actually my camera underneath my costume because I refused to like give up my camera.
There's an aeroplane in that.
There's cars and everything in that. I mean, seeing one of the battle scenes, you can see a bloody Mini or something, or a Ford Escort in the corner. I mean, it's so badly done in some cases.
So Scott, what I was going to ask, that's amazing, Stu, is so with the Chinese balloon being shut down and the other 3 objects being shut down that we're pretty much nailed on now that they are balloons, what did you make of how they were being reported by media? Mainly on your country, but
yeah, it was really strange that they were calling them objects. You know,
yeah, that was weird.
I mean, it's a balloon. Just say it's a balloon. I don't understand what they were doing or what the whole point of that was. I mean, I automatically looked at it and said, you know, they're and I made a remark on Twitter too, and I said if they were shooting down some kind of alien object, we wouldn't know about it. We wouldn't see it on the news. You know, they're not shooting down an alien UFO. That's not going to happen. If it was something of that type of importance, they would have kept it as secret as they could.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why they used a missile and not the gun that's on the aircraft? Do you know the reason for that?
No.
In the I think it was the 1970s, there was a balloon went rogue, and I don't know if the pilot fell out the basket or something, but it was going to end up crashing into something and causing damage to power lines or something, and knock out, I think, half of Canada at that point. And they put up a jet to shoot it down, and it fired literally every bullet it had in its magazine, and the balloon didn't go down. So they basically said, this time, if we're putting anything up in the air, we're going to take it out with a missile. And that's the reason why they didn't shoot it out with bullets. I just found that out like yesterday, actually. Somebody put that up. It was one of these things on YouTube.
I have to say, I did wonder that. I thought, you know, because those missiles, they cost a hefty. They're not cheap.
No, but that's why they took it out with a missile, and I think they used a proximity fuse to make sure that it did get knocked out of there.
You feel like a PlayStation 5 is expensive, or an Xbox. One of those missiles is a truckload of those motherfuckers.
Yeah,
yes, what,
millions of dollars.
Yeah, but the cheapest ones are like $70,000, and they're still, you know, that's cheap. But that's why they didn't use their 20mm cannon or whatever it was, the Gao 8 or whatever, on the flight. Supposedly they'd done it before 30-40 years ago, and it didn't take out the balloon, so they wanted to make sure they took it out this time. But am I not right in saying they only, out of the 3 or 4 balloons that it was, they've only managed to recover the debris from the Chinese balloon? They haven't covered the debris.
That's all I've heard.
Yeah,
recovered the debris from any of the others.
Yeah, it's really curious that the debris from the other ones hasn't been reported on or found or whatever. But
I also heard where they were supposedly looking, like especially in the northern part of Canada, there was somebody up there who was local to the area, and he's like a bush pilot or whatever, and he was saying, you know, they're not making any great efforts to search for it.
Yeah, it's weird.
So it's a bit of a strange one, that. But yeah, it is really weird that they called it an object and not just a balloon, or, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird that they chose that word.
It also seems to have disappeared out of the news cycle very quickly as well. Like, it's never mentioned now. Yeah, you don't hear anything of it 2-3 weeks later.
Did you think, Scott, with the fact that Joe was quite late to react with that Chinese balloon, and that didn't they get shut down like 3 days after it had been spotted?
I think it was longer than that. It traveled. Yeah, it traveled across the United States practically.
Yeah, they were tracking it in off the Alaskan coastline, about 250 miles off the Alaskan coastline. They knew about it.
So it went diagonally across the United States, and I think they shot it down off the coast of South Carolina.
Yeah, that's right. 12.
Yeah, so
within the 12
it traveled. It took a few days to get across the United States, but they were talking about it the whole time that it was going by.
So with them saying that all of a sudden that they've got some software updates, they can spot these things now. Do you actually think that's the reason why all of a sudden within the space of a few weeks they shut down 4 balloons?
Yeah, because NORAD switched their filters off. It literally was NORAD switched their filters off. They were ignoring a bunch of things that potentially could be in the air, from like flocks of birds to. So they could be still shooting them down now, but now they've just stopped reporting on them. Yeah.
It's always a possibility.
But the Chinese have been putting balloons over the US and other countries, for that matter, for decades, because it's cheap and cheerful for them to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at the drone technology that comes out of China, in terms of like DJI and stuff like that. I mean, if that's what they can build for the consumer, what the hell are they putting together for, you know, the military over there?
Yep.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Before we disappear, boys. So I'm going to start with you, Scott. Do you think that we're going to see a follow-up of? Do you think we're going to see anything of this, or it's going to be, as you Americans call it, a nothing burger?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's always possible that Jeremy puts out the
You can call him Jerry. He likes it. Call him Jerry.
7-second video or whatever it is. I don't know, but it's not going to be much different than what we're looking at with the photos strung together. It's just going to be a little bit smoother. That's all. But we're
Did
still
you
not
guys hear
going to be
that?
able to
There was
tell
something
anything.
crashed.
Yeah, that was something
upstairs
weird.
in my house.
That was
Yeah,
weird.
something just fell over up the stairs. Don't know what it was.
Did hear that?
I'll find out in a while.
So do you think?
I don't think we're just ever going to identify it for sure. There's really no way to do that.
You don't think any debunkers will be? It's possible that debunkers could be eating their words when it comes to this footage. You don't think it's going to be?
I just think it'll disappear like all the rest of this stuff. You don't see the bulk of video anymore. You don't see any frames of it or, memes about it. It's just it just goes through its cycles and then it disappears, and there's nothing that can be done with it. It can fall into the lore of ufology and it becomes, part of the whole lore, which has been going on for decades.
Now, I don't know if they care. I hope they do. But what as a pure and thoroughbred ufologist who's been in the field for quite a long time, what advice would you give to old school George Knapp and new school Corbell in this field when it comes to because I think they've got a big responsibility now when it comes to this, giving us this footage. Everybody's talking about it. Some of this footage makes it to mainstream media. What would you say as a ufologist if you were given a message for both of them for what they are doing?
I would say with a serious, absolutely, person who's interested in ufology to another person that's interested in ufology, especially somebody like George Knapp, who's been in front of the camera for decades. He's been doing newscasts and you name it, he's been there. Buy yourself some good infrared cameras, night vision cameras, go out to these locations and catch that stuff on video yourself. Go and do that. They both have the money to do it. So go and do it and then bring it to the public. Instead of taking these junky little clips that people are giving you and putting them out, go out there and shoot your own footage. There's no reason why no person cannot do that. Anyone can do it. It takes time, and it takes effort. You've got to go through the footage after you shoot it, look for anomalies, but it can be done. And instead of just putting out all this garbage, which is easier and they can make money from it, boom, 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 go out and shoot some footage. People do it all the time. They catch stuff. I've seen stuff on infrared that is just absolutely unexplainable, with objects doing, 45-degree angles at a high speed and, doing peculiar movements. And, there's just stuff out there that's not explainable. And anyone can do it. So George, Jeremy, take this show, take your weaponized, take your weaponized show and go out there, go live, go out to the desert and go live. Shoot some infrared footage, set up the cameras so the audience can see it, and sit there and shoot the shit and talk about UFOs and see if you catch anything.
Where should they take it?
I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. They could pretty much go anywhere. I mean, if you're going to spend the time, Yeah, if you're gonna spend the time to shoot the skies and watch the skies, eventually you're going to see or catch something. But it takes time. Over the years that I've been doing it, it's been far and few between that I've caught anything. But it takes time. You got to keep looking at it, keep filming it, keep looking at it. Sometimes I don't get. There's been patches where I haven't gotten anything for a year and a half, and then all of a sudden something shows up on the camera that's like, what the hell is that? And I can't explain it, but it takes time. Takes money too. You can buy some good cameras.
I actually think you're onto something there, because I think if Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp got a tent, took Bob Lazar with them put him in the tent,
trunk of the car,
got some beers, got somebody filming it.
Don't forget Robbie Williams.
Robbie, yeah, I love Robbie. Get Robbie. You got to get Robbie in.
Yeah, he still lives in LA, so yep, get Robbie.
That is a motherfucking show, right there.
Yeah, and
fuck it, invite Joe Rogan.
Use Elon Musk's satellite system.
Yeah, so many people would watch that.
That would be amazing. Get Stephen Greer in the background shooting up some flares, and you're on.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Nah, he's got to photograph some yucca trees and turn them into aliens.
No, we love him
and some insects. Yeah. So I mean, there was a show that was done years ago. It was Larry King Live, which was on CNN. It was in the 90s, I believe, and I watched it, and it was live, and they were in the desert. He set up his desk in the desert, and they shot the whole show from the desert, and it was pretty cool. But I mean, somebody could do that, and I've seen other channels do episodes where they're out there live and they're but I mean, it would take time. And it would take people that were committed to doing it, and
you need the money for the equipment. They've got the money for the equipment.
Yeah, there's the prices have come down for really good HD infrared cameras and night vision cameras, and the ones that are filming the full color, like my Psionics, those are getting better.
How often do you go out?
Well, in the winter months, I don't go out at all because it's really not good for the camera. I don't like the cold. The mechanics inside is just not really good in the cold, and I don't want to risk destroying it. And besides, in the winter months, I don't see very much. I've never, and there's nothing, strangely, it's not a time where there's a lot of activity. And if you look at any kind of like authentic stuff like Aquadia, there's not a lot of stuff that happens during snow or cold areas. I don't know. But for me, I don't want to destroy it. I go out, I try to get out at least once or twice a month in the spring throughout the fall. And then sometimes I will sit somewhere. I'll go to like the Brimfield State Forest at 2:00 in the morning, and I'll park on the side of the road, and then I'll get out there with a couple friends and grab the infrareds and just sit there and just search the horizon and just see what we can get.
I'm just looking at Amazon here. The Psionics cameras have really come down in price. The Aurora Pro IR color night vision camera is just $1,000.
Yeah, which is really good.
I remember when they were like $10,000.
But they definitely have to come up with the resolution. The resolution's a little too low for my liking. It's still good, don't get me wrong. I love using it. It's a really cool camera, but I wish it had better resolution.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I mean, you go out and you just I try to catch things and you know, see what happens.
Well, I would like to see that show. I think that would be great. Get Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, Bob Lazar. I'm sure Joe will come along as long as there's, you know, whiskey. He'll be there. Get Joe Rogan there.
Yeah. Joe Rogan, yeah.
Yeah, get Jamie, Joe Rogan's Jamie doing the live chat. That's a motherfucking show right there.
He can man the chat.
Yeah,
I'm sure actually.
If I ever get big, ish. If a few more thousand subscribers, I would love to get a Jamie. Me and Lee say that all the time. We need a Jamie. Yeah, Jamie, that you need somebody who's just like that, instant, boom, up on the screen. We have to find it. You know, every so I'm like, you'll say Stephen Greer, and I'm like searching and searching and searching. Then all of a sudden, it's like, bam, got him. There we go. Boys, it's been a pleasure. I don't expect much with this. Not a rocket, because
I think we'll get 7 seconds of potato footage.
Yes, I think we're gonna get. I think we're gonna get 7 seconds, which will be very, very similar to what. Who put the clip together, Scott? Who put the
John Greenwald.
I think the clip will be very similar to that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just going to be the same thing. It'll just be smoother. That's all.
We just need
more frames. More frames. That's all. But you know, hey, when I posted it, I knew as I was posting it that there's going to be people for and people against any type of missile, any type of, you know, I knew that ahead of time. And sure enough, it just went back and forth, all the way down.
I do stand by that. I think he needs to get Mick West on weaponized.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
He'll not get him, though.
No, I'm pretty sure Mick West would go. Mick West will come on Alien Addicts. He's just not got much time. But me and Mick West have spoke, and he said he will come on here once he's got his schedule free. I mean, I think he's in LA now or something like that. He's not even in England anymore.
He's lived in the US for years now.
Yeah, but I think getting Mick West on, big deal right there. Big deal for people putting out.
There we are.
With great. What's that old Spider-Man saying?
With great power comes great responsibility. Huh?
Exactly. Jezza, you've got great responsibility. Get Mick West on. Get him on. Yeah, but I am going to say before we go, people, I'm going to show this clip again because I'm not a total naysayer when it comes to this.
Not a rocket.
Thanks, Jez. I'm really not. So I'm going to show this again because this was over the United States from a pilot that recorded something very similar to a rocket going over the plane.
Okay, so there are new reports about a UFO sighting over the weekend. An American Airlines pilot reported the sighting over an area of New Mexico on Sunday. Here is what he reported seeing at the time.
Have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object. It almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top of us.
Ooh. Air traffic controllers reportedly didn't see anything on their radar, and the director of the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico confirmed there were no missile tests on that day.
Here we go.
Yep.
Yep.
Well,
not a rocket.
No, we
I don't think that was a rocket because that was very close to a fucking an airliner.
Yeah,
Unless you
and the picture, I'm not sure is legitimate. I saw it years ago, and it looks similar.
This was from 2001.
Yeah, and but the photo was shot supposedly by a person on the plane that was taking pictures out the window and just happened to catch it. But
Right.
it's a daytime shot, blue sky, cylindrical.
How close to the
looking.
plane?
It's right there. You can clearly see that it's cylindrical and it's metallic looking. I'll have to try to find it.
How many meters would you say away from the plane? 500 meters, 300, 100. Just from.
I'd say 500 meters. Yeah. I mean, I'm not good at distances, but
No, I'm not even. You can never tell it on a photograph unless you can identify what the object 100. So if it was a car, you could, I could tell how many meters that were away.
Yeah.
But if it's just the shape, you have no idea because you don't know how big the shape was.
Right.
Right. But yeah, this pilot says it went over the plane, and the way he describes it is over the top of the plane.
Yeah, they both looked up through the window apparently and watched it go over and saw it. So
there are people, there are rockets out there. There are objects that look like rockets in other areas. We've been reporting them for years. Some people might call them the cigar-shaped UFO.
Yep.
So I will say this. Yes, what Jeremy has reported on, and George, it's over a war zone. It's Baghdad, yeah?
Yes.
It's military footage, and it could quite possibly be a missile that is, let's just say it's official that it's a UAP. This still could be a missile. It's an unidentified missile. They don't know what type of missile this is, but it's a missile.
True.
Would you say that's a good way of putting it, Scott?
Yes, true.
It's a unofficial missile.
Right.
It's the Taliban. The Taliban went on vacation over to Iraq from Afghanistan, took some toys that the Americans left behind, and decided to have a bit of a party.
See,
there you go. It's their brand new tech.
Very plausible. Very plausible.
And then that way, it's not a known like other country entity because they don't count the Taliban as being an official government, and
exactly. I guarantee when we see Wilcox's flying car for the first time, that will get reported as a UFO. When it's not, it's just Wilcox's new car.
Yeah.
Boys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Scott, you are a legend in the field. I have put your link in the description below. You should put more on the channel. I know you do a lot with Erica. That is also a fantastic channel. And I'd like to get you back on with. I've become quite friendly with what's his name? Fire in the Sky guy.
Travis.
Not Travis. No.
Mike Rogers.
Me and Mike, yeah, we message each other on Facebook now and again because we're both into art. He's quite nice. Yeah, he's quite a nice guy.
Oh, he is a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. I don't dispute that at all. But he's not gonna go on any show with me. He just,
I think he would.
That whole fiasco was just. There's never gonna come a day where they're gonna take it to their graves.
It's the weirdest thing It's the weirdest thing that they all hate each other, but yet they still stick to the story. Yeah. Kind of.
Well, I mean, Mike and Travis both had more to lose than any of the other guys. As soon as it became, like we have always theorized, that it started as a joke. I have the phone call that I've never released with Travis's best friend as a teenager. And he is with the CIA now. So when Travis was a teenager, he had a teenage friend named Kelly Waldrop, and they would go around Arizona in that area and play pranks on people. And there was a time where they faked UFOs. He wanted to fake UFOs, sending up balloons with flares tied to them. This was when he was a teenager, before Fire in the Sky even happened. And I have this phone call of him and I. It's probably 40 minutes. And we discussed the whole thing. How when he first heard that they were coming out with a movie about his old best friend, Travis Walton, that he knew it was about UFOs without even, looking at it. He sent me the email that he sent to Travis saying, you're full of shit. I can't believe you're doing this. He confronted him in the email. And that stuff's never been released. I never put it out. I didn't get permission from Kelly. I never really asked him. So I probably should put the phone call. Yeah, I should put it out. I can call him and ask him and see if he'll let me. He doesn't know that I recorded him. So anybody who's seeing this right now, yes, I did record it. Because I wanted to have it as evidence with the investigation we were doing into Travis's whole background and Mike's whole background. And I actually found out about him by accident because I was listening to what's his name there with the podcast, the Indian guy there, Theories of Everything with
Kurt Jumble. I love Kurt.
Yeah. So I love Kurt too. He does
very
a good
clean
show.
kitchen. Very clean kitchen.
And so he had on Travis and put the quote up on the screen that told a little bit about Kelly Waldrop, and that's how I found him. So I tracked him down. I found his number. I called him. I left a message, and then he called me back like a couple of days later, and we talked for about 40 minutes. And, he gave me the whole rundown and said, Travis is full of shit. They were always trying to pull shit as teenagers, always trying to fool people. And Travis's whole family was into UFOs. And, none of that stuff got out to the public, but so
it's so odd though that they all stick to the guns.
Well,
maybe they are all friends and they're just lying to us. Maybe they are the best of friends.
Well, the other five guys, I believe wholeheartedly that they were fooled, that they do believe it was a UFO. I believe the way that Mike and Travis pulled it off was being there for a fleeting moment, scaring them with the talk. They were racing down the road trying to get away. They left Travis there. I just think it just worked out. It's like during the day when they were working, when Travis disappeared, and then Mike disappeared. And they said Travis was sick in the truck. But, we just think is that they were going a distance away from the other guys to talk about what they were going to do in a few hours. I mean, there's so much of it that fits together.
Would you agree, though, that Mike coming out and saying it was all a lie is more beneficial for him sticking up for it right now?
What Mike is doing is every few years will go by, another project will come along that involves Travis. Mike will get pissed that he's not involved. He's not getting any financial gain from it. And so he'll go at Travis. So this last time, a couple of years ago now, during the whole time that Erica and I were doing the investigation, Mike drove to Travis's house, which is, I guess, a couple hours away, or an hour and a half or something like that. Took pictures of Travis's backyard, which is all filled with old cars, washers and dryers, just all junk. There's all junk everywhere, all around Travis's house. Then he posted them on Facebook and was downing Travis because there was talk that they were going to make another movie about Travis. And so Mike was threatening to get some money from the latest project. And this is what he does. He does this to Travis to get money out of him, like threatening, I'm going to tell, you know, and it's a back and forth thing with them. It really is.
So, for example, Mike going on Erica Luke's with yourself, Mike could say to message Travis and say, I've just been on this show, about to go on again, and blow the lid off it. Give me some motherfucking money. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, if it was something like a, you know, for instance, when that whole thing happened, when we started looking at, we ran into Ryan Gordon, we started looking into the whole fire tower thing, checking, verifying that it was there, you know, then looking at, you know, pictures of fire towers at night through the trees, you know, the descriptions that they used. Not a single time in Travis's entire book is that fire tower mentioned. Not once. Now, there are no prominent structures in that national forest, except campgrounds with, you know, picnic tables, maybe a built-in grill. But this fire tower is something that's like, was within miles or a mile or so, I forgot the exact length, of where this supposed abduction happened. You know, and I just screen captured a remark by Steve Pierce, who was the youngest of the group when it happened. And he stated, no one thought to check the fire tower. He just put this on Facebook, not even, I think, 2 months ago.
So I also interviewed Steve Pierce. That he did say if I wanted another interview, I had to pay him £50. Actually, no, he didn't say. He just said I have to pay him. He said if anybody wants to interview, if anybody wants to interview, you got to pay me. But I did not pay him for the interview. He got paid by a good friend of mine, and it's Steve's odd, and I don't mean that in a bad. I don't mean that. I think Steve to have a drink with, I think would be a lot of fun. But the fact that Steve, he wasn't in the film, he didn't even know about. He didn't know about the film.
No.
And Steve had such a big religious side with this. He said to me, if he lied, if the wool was pulled over my eyes, he would be pretty pissed. But I think he would be pissed for what this has done to his life. That's what I got the impression of.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't blame him either. I mean, I don't blame those guys. And they're not going to say, holy shit, after all these years I was fooled. I feel like a fool. We've perpetuated this whole myth. You know, they're just not going to do that. And I don't blame them. I don't. I do blame Mike and Travis because they did this to them.
So did you ever hear, because I never heard this before until I had Steve Pierce on the show, but did you ever hear them say that they saw the craft take off?
I believe Mike said, and I think it's when they stopped the truck like down the road, farther away, that they saw it shoot off over the forest. But I'm not sure if that's in the book.
Because Steve told me he thinks this is real because he saw it take off.
I think
his
that,
exact words were he looked and saw it take off, and that is what that's also what Mike said, who Steve and Mike hate each other. So
yeah, I just think that, you know, everybody was, you know, adrenaline fueled at the moment. They're racing down this dirt road in the dark. You know, their imaginations are raging because they just thought they saw this UFO. You know, there's a bunch of stuff that just doesn't make sense, you know. And the fact that, you know, what a lot of people don't know, and I'll say this, okay? Ryan Gordon had become kind of a family member of Travis's for a little while, and people don't know this. Okay.
Yeah, I know the story. I've had a lot of conversations with Ryan. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
so,
I know what you're referring to.
And I think that that Travis felt comfortable with him because of the fact that he was now in his inner circle.
Yeah.
And he revealed this stuff to him. And I think once that relationship that Ryan had, you know, broke off from the family, you know, now it was, okay, we're going to trash this guy. Anything he says, he's a liar, you know. And, you know, I just think that Ryan's never lied to me. He's never lied to me. Not once. Anything he's ever come to me with can be verified. He's never lied.
I will vouch for Ryan with that. Whatever he says, he backs it up.
Yeah, and he's you know, he's tried to tell people that and prove that you know, he's not a liar. He's not out there to make up stories. He's trying to get at the truth. And another, you know, a traumatic event that happened in his life back when he was young is something that drives him to the truth. It's something that has driven him to the truth since he, you know, grew up and became a man. And it was a traumatic event. And, you know, he feels like that if he, you know, lies and makes up stories, that he's, you know, betraying that trauma. So, but anyway.
Oh, the dog.
Yeah. So
it's the dog. I'm gonna have to go very, very soon.
Yeah.
I've just let her back in, but
I gotta get going too. So, it was great being on with you guys, and I enjoyed it very much.
Just really quickly before we go. So, Scott, Stu is making a documentary about Stephen Greer.
Nice.
About how much Stephen Greer is there for the greater good of humanity and aliens. He's doing a lot of research, and Scott knows quite a bit on Stu. I tell you what, Scott, do you mind if hook up with Scott on Twitter?
Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
No, Stu.
I'm gonna have to go.
All right.
Take her for a wee, mate.
See you later, guys.
See you later,
Bye-bye.
Stu.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Cheers. Bye.
See you later, Scott. Yes. People. Stu's dog. If my cat comes in here, do you know what I do? I just pick it up. No, I don't. Love dog. I want a dog. Get rid of the cats first. Thank you so much for staying with us, people. I know I look extremely red tonight. It's something to do with this monitor. Normally, I look so anemic, I almost look dead. And with this, I just look like I'm sunburnt. I can't win. We'll fix it somehow. Maybe I need to get a green screen. But what I will say, going back to the rocket, is just kind of stand by with it, people. We've got the debunkers out there. We've got the people who are saying that this thing is going to explode, and all of a sudden we're going to get not explode. That's a bad analogy. But the fact that they've put this out and not backed it up with anything says to me there's something to come, because that would be extremely fucking stupid. Jezza, that would be stupid. Please tell me you've not done that. Please tell me you've not just put some little shitty clip up, a few little frames of a little black thing that's going from one point to one point, because that would be extremely silly. And then you're going to put a video out next week with a line going across the screen, because that would be stupid. There's going to have to be something more. We need some more meat, very moist meat. It needs to be moist. We need your moist meat. Give me your moist meat when it comes to this. We need it, because you've got to back this up, my son. You have to back this up, because if you don't, you're going to look a fool, and you're going to take that old timer with you. And I have a lot of respect for George Knapp. A lot of respect. I have got respect for Corbell. I do have respect for Corbell. As much as I've done many a show where we spoke about Corbell's footage being a little bit lame when it comes to anything that backs it up, he's still doing something. We're getting something. He has done things for the UFO community. And you cannot say that he hasn't, because he has. But nothing that he has done has, for me, been backed up. There's nothing there that's just, yeah, you've given us this, and this has just exploded, and we've got this evidence now. All we've had is little pieces that we've had to puzzle together. Maybe that's part of the game. Maybe that's what we have to do. But I've never been good at puzzles. We need more. But anyway, it is what it is. It is what it is, people.
Not a rocket.
The fucking rocket, Jeremy. It's not a rocket. I have no idea what it is. I've had a little bit. I must have had, I think that third glass of red wines tickled my nipples a little bit. I would like to get a show where I can come on here and I can bring to the table some more footage from Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp and say, without a shadow of a doubt, that it's not a rocket. I don't think that's going to happen. But I'm going to say this before I go, because I know Lee's going to address this on Sunday. you cannot say that this is a rocket just because it's over Baghdad. All you've got is a line that goes from one end of the screen to the other, and it's black. Just because it's not bright white doesn't mean to say that I've seen the rockets. I've seen the rockets. I've seen the rockets being shot. I've had loads of footage sent to me. I can't put it out because of YouTube, because it's war. So I can't put the real stuff out because the show will go down. So I can't do that for you. I've seen those motherfuckers, and they're white. They are white. The rockets are white. This one's black. Yes, I've seen Mick West footage where you can see the black planes, but when the planes move, you see the engines, and the engines are glowing white. The angle of this rocket, though, you cannot see the engine. Not a rocket, but you can. If it is a rocket, you can't see the engine. Okay, so all I'll say, people, is just stay calm. Let's see what happens. Let's see if Jeremy and the Napster bring anything else to the table on the next Weaponized. I have to say, I'm enjoying the show. You know, when I'm driving to work and I'm listening to a little bit of that Weaponized on a morning, it's entertaining. I enjoy it. But boys, you've got a huge fucking responsibility, and you've given us some fucking frames. You're going to get destroyed on the back of that if you do not bring anything else on the next week. Anyway, I've rambled enough. And if you want to hear somebody ramble in a very sexy way, tune in on Sunday for my lad, Lee Must See Audio, who is now a part of Alien Addict. We've joined up, and I've got some merch that I'm making for him, which is fucking wicked. But if you don't want to buy Lee's merch, you can buy my merch. Jeremy, Bob, please, honestly, I will suck your nipples if you both go and purchase. In fact, I will send you a t-shirt for free if you reenact this photoshopped job of my t-shirt really suits you. People, the link to that t-shirt is in the description. If you can reenact this and send me on Twitter, that would be bloody brilliant. Good night, God bless. Jesus Christ, I look red. Mind the bugs don't bite. I'm Alien Addict. And yeah, it's 100%
not a rocket.
Thanks, Jez.